The interview with BJNN is brought to you by Biz Events, connecting the Central New York business community through events.
I'm Marny Nesher, president of the Business Journal News Network, and I'd like to welcome Nate Andrews, president of Morse Manufacturing Company, a family-owned maker of specialized drum handling equipment. Morse Manufacturing was honored in international development back in 2016 at our Family Business Awards event. Nate, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell the readers about Morse Manufacturing and how it started. I understand it began back in 1923, which means you are celebrating 95 years?
95 years in business.
Very impressive.
Certainly, yeah. In fact, the company started not too far from here on Dickerson Street. That's where the gentleman by the name of Morris came up with the project. And
you have toys.
I did. I brought some show and tell.
That's great.
So this was the original invention that started Morse Manufacturing. And I had no idea what this was. The gentleman called me up one day and asked me if I knew what it was. And it is actually used to tighten the spoke on a bicycle. You twist it, and the company initially made kind of a hodgepodge of different inventions. They also made a foot pedal accelerator for the Franklin automobile. Way back in the day, the accelerator used to be on the steering column. But my grandfather got involved in the 40s, and they came up with a drum handling product. We don't make drums, but we make equipment that properly lifts, moves, and handles drums. And it's been the focus of the company ever since. That is all that we do. We manufacture all of it right here in East Syracuse and ship it quite literally all over the world.
Very impressive. Are most of your clients, consumers from the United States or outside, or is there
most
percentage?
of them are the U.S. That's the bulk of our market. Depending on from year to year, we'll export between 15 and 20%. About half of that goes to Canada, but it's a real developing area for us as we actively look to develop those markets. Yeah.
Now, I understand that you assisted in the cleanup of Japan's Fukushima power plant. What did you do? How did you assist?
We didn't do much. We sold a product. We're the only manufacturer that makes a product that was heavy duty enough for what their application was. They actually worked with a consulting firm out of Denver area, and they had these really heavy drums, and it was over 2,000-pound capacity. And it was a forklift attachment that we provided. It's actually a standard product, but we got word of where it was going, and it's a pretty unique application. So yeah, we didn't play a real active role in it, but it's certainly worth noting.
Well, and it must feel good that you're able to assist in a way like that, even if it's small.
Yeah. The application that my wife gets most excited about is when we sell products to Turkey Hill ice cream. It's,
And so so some of your clients are Turkey Hill. What else?
Well, certainly a lot of food processing,
Okay.
a lot of paint and chemical type applications. We do a lot of pharmaceutical type stuff. We get into stainless steel applications for food grade or pharmaceutical type stuff. Really, anywhere that uses drums. A drum full of oil or water will weigh between 400 and 500 pounds. For somebody to manually move that, it's kind of hard. Mm-hmm. So to safely do it, you need a product like ours to do it. So anywhere there's drums, from the local Valvoline or getting your oil changed to Bristol Myers around the corner, they all use drums and use our products.
That's great. Tell us, let's talk about you a little bit. I understand that you studied in Vermont.
I did, University of Vermont.
So what made you come back into the family business?
So, it's funny. My brother always was the one that expressed the most interest in getting into the family business. And I wasn't sure. I went to school, engineering management. And then after that, I worked with a Christian group with high school kids for 2 years. And I spent a year in seminary. I wasn't sure if maybe that was what I was supposed to be doing. It was not. It was the second semester of ancient Koine Greek.
That sealed it for you.
That sealed the deal for me. And, I worked at a marketing development company out in Boston area for a couple of years before I decided, I should probably give it a go and try to work in the family business. It was really nerve-wracking moving back to Syracuse. I'd been gone 5-6 years, but the challenge to work with my dad, and seeing him as no longer just my father, but we're going to work together and he's going to be my boss was a real. It was daunting. It really was, but it has worked really, really well.
And your succession happened back in 2012, or?
I guess officially that's when I became president. Anything like that is kind of incremental over time. My dad has retired in earnest. He really set a model for it. I call him our CFO now, our Chief Fishing Officer, because that's what he loves to do. Most older parents in his place haven't quite wanted to give up control, but he's been great. He's wanted to do his own things. He's always had his own hobbies, and it always helps when the business is growing. So. Do
you have a piece of advice for a family business locally that might help them through those times of succession? And
great question. Communicate. You have to communicate, and as well as make sure that family stuff stays family stuff and business stuff stays business stuff, and not let the two. You have to be willing to compartmentalize those things. Really early on, a great example, we had an employee that asked my dad for something, and he didn't get the answer he was looking for. So he turned and went to me and asked me, thinking that, I'd give him a different. It's just like a kid with parents. And you got to be able to communicate. And make sure you're on the same page.
Very good. So as I read about you, the term moral compass was used quite a bit, and that seems very integral in the leading of your company. Can you please explain that a little bit more?
I think you have to know who you are to be an effective leader. You have to know what your pros are, what you're good at, and more importantly, what you're not good at. And you got to be able to rely on your team members to be able to make up and do what you're not necessarily efficient at. But you have to hold a high moral standard. I'm convinced of that personally as well as professionally. If you slip in the slightest bit in one area, it's so easy to go down the wrong path. We sell through a dealer network, and to treat our dealers fairly and with respect and not do preferential things from one versus the other, that's what allows you to have a 95-year history. If you start, it's easy to be tempted to want to make exceptions, but once you do that, it starts you down the wrong path. I don't know if that answers, but
it does. Okay. It does. How about some? Do you have any early lessons that you can share with us that help shape your leadership?
Wow, early lessons
from growing up, from seeing your father.
From
your experience and.
So I was very active in Boy Scouts. I still am today. I just finished up. I was president of the Longhouse Council for a couple of years. That was integral in shaping my leadership. And I don't, growing up in Boy Scouts, I don't think you realized it at the time. You're sitting around with a bunch of kids cooking dinner and helping the new tenderfoots learn how to put tents up and whatnot. But, the fact that you're having to work with people in that just basic level really was pretty transformative in developing, I think, who I am today. So
it's very nice.
I don't know, to start.
Boy Scouts are a great organization.
Yeah.
Let's talk about manufacturing in Central New York.
Okay.
Share with us your industry's immediate need. Is it filling jobs or is it something else?
Filling jobs, no doubt. I mean, everywhere I go and every manufacturing leader I talk to, we're in the same situation. It's finding reliable employees that can fill the need. We're at a point where we haven't been, frankly, since pre-2008, where people are almost hiring anybody and anybody they can. There's a lot of need, and surprisingly, there's a lot of I think available candidates that are out there that just don't have the skills or struggling to show up on time and whatnot. But we're all looking for good employees that have even the some basic fundamental manufacturing skills.
Now, you had shared with me that Marny has started an apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
So the apprenticeship program is a pretty new thing. They got some state funding to help out with this program. I think it's the third year of the program at this point. Apprenticeships aren't new. They've been around for forever. Germany is a great example of how they do this and really do it well. The struggle with apprenticeship programs, official apprenticeship programs, is there's a lot of kind of red tape or involvement, and so small, medium-sized organizations really struggle to put together a formal apprenticeship program. So this has, through Marny, they've been able to put together and assist small, medium-sized businesses put together a formal apprenticeship program. So you can take that employee that has shown some promise, is showing up on time, and is really eager to learn, and it is really enabling those companies to invest in those employees and really train them in a way that they probably wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
So where does the training take place?
So I think a lot of it is between local, whether it's OCC or institutions, as well as right on the job training.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
So let's go back to filling the job need.
Yeah.
What are the options out there? How do you go about finding people with the skill that you need, the skill set that you need for these manufacturing jobs?
So, another thing Marny is really working on and has done a good job is the PBI, Partners in Business in Education. And what that's doing is looking at kind of the tunnel of youth and available talent. So much of our high school and middle school are focused on putting kids into a 4-year programs, which is great, for people that need and that should be for. But
it's not for everybody.
It's not
right.
for everybody. And there are incredible resources between BOCES and OCC and whatnot to put these kids in a 2-year, 3-year program where they come out with whether it's associate's degree or even just some welding skills where they can go to work right away without any kind of debt surrounding it and be able to make some good money. So they're working hard. I believe the Syracuse Center of Excellence is graduated this past year. I think the first year of the PTech program, which is a 5-year program. It takes kids from middle school and puts them through this 5-year program. So they come out after with a Regents education and either a associate's degree in mechanical technologies or electrical technologies. So it's really feeding that pipeline of people. The resources have been out there. The struggle is attracting the kids to want to get into it.
Well, is it because they just don't know about it? Is that really the communication? Is that what the problem is, do you feel? Or
so, my opinion is that that's certainly part of it, that the kids aren't aware. But I think a larger portion is the fact that our whole society really is focused on at this time, putting kids into a 4-year program. You look at the paper. You guys do a good job of not reporting this, but the schools are graded based on how many of the kids go into a 4-year degree afterwards, and that is the number of employees we've hired that have started out at a 4-year degree, and it hasn't been for them, and they've stopped, and they got a bunch of debt, and now they're taking on a job when if they just spent 1 year in some kind of associate's program, they would have been making more money without the debt, and they would have got going right from the get-go. It's really a tragedy to some of those youth that trying to push them into where they don't need to go.
So if you have a recommendation for other manufacturers here locally to get some assistance, do you suggest they connect with Marny directly, or what would be, if they're looking to fill those jobs and they want to know what the next step is, who should they reach out to?
So certainly Marny, the P-Tech program just graduated a number of students. So there's certainly some resources within Marny to do that. I mean, internally we look there as well. We also try to look to our own employees to provide some recommendations or whatnot. It's good that the business economy is great right now, but it's a tough job market for hiring good talent. It is.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's actually all the time we have today. Thank you to Nate for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates. Take a look at our website at cnybj.com.